this is some of the highest quality music in the repertoire. So we're really
and some of the hardest.
Yes. So you're not going to hear this at a student recital. This is professional level music, and we're really excited to share it with you. So let's get started. I'll just explain who Richard Strauss is a little bit. He was one of Germany's greatest musical figures who brought the 19th century symphonic poem to its height, and he became a leading composer of the Romantic opera in the 20th century. He is a highly influential conductor and was deeply influenced by Richard Wagner. And in fact, he was the only German opera composer of his time to emerge successfully from Wagner's shadow. Strauss became known for his operas, which were considered bold and innovative for their time. His operas showcased his profound understanding of the soprano voice, a knowledge shaped by his marriage to renowned soprano Pauline Diana, after he conducted her singing Elisabeth at Bayreuth. Strauss composed over 200 lieder with his wife as his main source of inspiration, and his lieder were often composed as sets marked by lush harmonies with an ear towards orchestration.
So Strauss collaborated with Hugo von Hofmannsthal as his librettist for most of his operas. He began this lifelong collaboration with the Austrian poet with his opera Elektra in 1909. And this collaboration between Strauss and Hofmannsthal was really one of the greatest composer-librettist combos in history, maybe only matched by the Mozart combo, and Da Ponte. It spanned nearly 3 decades until the poet's death in 1929, and the duo's final collaboration, Arabella, which you'll hear little bits from today, remains one of the most successful operas of all time. Their female protagonists really dominate their operas, which was different than a lot of what was being written at that time. And they have just a real depth of character, and their music really showcases that intellectual and deep connection to emotion and to what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis in the opera. It's really, really interesting to see some of these. This collaboration with Hofmannsthal also fostered Strauss's affinity for the female psyche, and Hofmannsthal also had this same connection to exploring that, exploring these ideas that hadn't really been explored in opera up until that time in depth.
So Strauss's mastery of orchestral effect, the individuality and variety of his instrumental coloring are evident in his operas and symphonic poems. His harmony, which sounded really daring and dissonant at the turn of the century, is no longer novel to us, but just for this reason, we can now better appreciate how he used that for dramatic purposes. So technically, he can be regarded as a continuation of Wagner, where the orchestra is dominant, the music is continuous, there's a system of leitmotifs, the texture is uniformly thick and polyphonic, the rhythms are non-periodic, and the voice parts are mostly of an arioso character. Strauss's chord progressions are generally conditioned by chromatic voice leading, but are less bound up with romantic expressiveness, and have more remote and sudden modulations and are dissonant. Okay.
So this presentation, Melissa and I really wanted to focus on the idea of the Straussian sopranos. Melissa and I are both sopranos, and yes, sometimes we sing the same pitches, but we sing them differently. There's different colors and different characteristics in operas that are related to the color of the voice. And so we really wanted to talk about that because it's a really important thing in Strauss's operas. This is a quote from the Journal of Singing by Linda Lister. Strauss's soprano roles serve as dramatic vehicles for prototypes of the Straussian soprano, who would be a complete singer-actress able to realize Strauss's lifelong operatic exploration of the female psyche. So the first type of Straussian soprano that we'll talk about, again, this idea was not created by Strauss, but it was really kind of mastered in these operas. But the prima donna, who often would be the title character, like Arabella, the primary protagonist, she'll be singing really lyrically, really long and fluid lines. The voice has to be of substantial size and will have kind of like a silvery sheen, maybe a darker color rather than a lighter one. On a character side of things, a sensitive and strong stage presence, so not a flighty character, not someone who's changing their mind, every scene. Somebody who's strong and has a strong sense of self. These roles in the Strauss operas could, be Arabella, Ariadne, Marceline, and some really famous singers over time who have sung these roles have been Renee Fleming, Lottie Lehman, and Kiri Te Kanawa, many more than that, but kind of those kind of thicker, sizable voices.
So Bethany will be representing our prima donna today, and I, as her contrast, am the ingenue. So the ingenue is the secondary female lead, and this prototype is written for a lighter lyric or a lyric coloratura soprano, which is my voice type, and it features roles of somewhat contrasting character to the prima donna. The characters are typically greater in youth and lighter vocal timbre, as exhibited by the role of Zdenka, which you'll hear us sing. The grandest musical lyricism is reserved for her older sister, Arabella, but Zdenka does have some significant sustained high-lying passages in the duet that we're going to hear. So many ingenues can transition to the prima donna roles later in their career, and those roles that they would start off with are going to be Zdenka, Terbinetta, and Zofie from Der Rosenkavalier, and those singers are Barbara Bonney, Kathleen Battle, and Lucia Pope.
So something interesting, Melissa and I went to college together. I won't say how long ago that was. But we were both singing ingenue roles at that time. We were both singing the same roles, singing the same types of pieces. And so my transition has really only started to happen in the last 5 years. The female voice really doesn't mature fully until, I'll say, mid-30s. So it really just depends on where your voice is headed. And you'll, again, these roles shift throughout a voice's lifetime.
Exactly. Okay. So for the Straussian prototypes, we're using Arabella as our case study. In this opera, the mother of Zdenka and Arabella, Countess Valtna, consults with a fortune teller who predicts that a rich marriage will happen for her beautiful daughter, Arabella, but there will be danger for the second daughter, Zdenka, who dresses as a young man to increase Arabella's chances of marriage. Zdenka has fallen in love with one of Arabella's suitors and writes him love letters in her hand. She begs her sister to favor him so she will not be heartbroken. Arabella replies that der Richtige, the right man for her, hasn't appeared yet, but she'll know when he does.
So Arabella has, again, these kind of grand musical lyric legato lines. One of the most famous motifs from the opera is the Aber der Richtige, which I'll sing just a little bit of that. Her character, again, is kind of cool, detached, independent, strong sense of self. The translation for this little section of music that we'll sing is, "But the right one, if there is one for me in the world, he will suddenly be standing there before me, and he will look at me, and I him, and there will be no more doubts or questions. I will be blessed to him like a child." Strauss's parlando style here is punctuated by lyrical passages and motifs that are intricately woven into the textural orchestral theme. This is going to be really different than bel canto opera and Mozart opera, right? So it's very all interwoven, And while these like themes kind of stand out, it's very kind of through composed almost in how it sounds. It kind of helps to convey this sense of wistful melancholy that represents, I think, the Strauss human insight at its best. Arabella kind of resolves to marry for love and wait for the right man, which again is a very like independent theme of that day. And she's really kind of fully introduced in, her motif is fully introduced in this like 6-note setting of the Abende Richtige phrase that I'm gonna sing for you right now. And I've been working on this Strauss music for a few months, so bear with me as I use my music today.
So we get to hear that gorgeous lyric theme and melody. Zdenka, on the other hand, also has sustained high-lying passages, but that's not typical of the voice type. She is really sympathetic and warm-hearted and displays an undying devotion to her sister. In Zdenka's solo part before the duet proper, she says, "I don't know how you are. I don't know if you are right, but I love you too much to judge. I just want you to be happy with someone who deserves it. And I want to help you find happiness." That is what the fortune teller saw. She's bathed in light, and I'm in the dark abyss.
Ich weiß nicht, ob du recht hast.
She is so.
So in the duet proper, Arabella repeats her same text, while Zdenka says, "She is so beautiful and sweet. I'll go away, and even in parting, I will bless you, my sister." So now we'll really see the contrast between Arabella's part and Zdenka's part. So you'll see Zdenka will be floating high above, and Arabella will still have her lyrical theme.
So we're starting from the tempo piano, right? The moment. Okay, we're transitioning away from opera and into orchestrated art song, which is very operatic in nature. So I want to talk about the four last songs. So this was the last piece of music that Strauss wrote and published before his death, and he knew that that was going to be the case. So the four last songs are for kind of that thicker prima donna, full lyric voice. There are many reasons for that. One of the reasons is really just the content that is being sung about. It's this kind of exploration and calm before the storm, before the unknown, before death. So it requires kind of a more rich and heavy sound. But then also the orchestration's really thick and really dense and really loud, and so the voice really needs to kind of be able to cut through that. I'm struggling with that right now as I'm learning it and how to make sure that that happens. One of the examples of kind of these like soaring soprano lines is in the piece Beim Schlafengehen, which is number 3 in the cycle. And it kind of has these long lines with words that have no real place for the singer to breathe. And so it's really interesting. Every recording that you'll hear of sopranos who sing this, they will take breaths in the middle of words. They'll add words to make it work for them. And so I think that that's just part of singing Strauss, is you're going to have to make decisions as a singer because what was written is almost unsingable in some spots. So that's been fun to try to figure out. But we're going to sing a little section of that. I'm going to sing a little section of that. So give me 1 second here.
Brentano is the poet for that, so that's why we call it the Brentano Lieder. It was written and dedicated to the light coloratura soprano Elizabeth Schumann, and this is a picture of Elizabeth Schumann with Strauss as they're working away on writing the song cycle. It's made up of 6 love songs, which is in contrast to the farewell songs of the letzte Lieder. These songs frequently narrate a story, and it is a tour de force of vocal and pianistic virtuosity, which you'll see in 1 second. It's energetic in character, there's melismas and trills, and the whole cycle has a 2-octave range. So I'm singing D flat below the staff to D above the staff. And we can see all of that in just this one song, Amor, which I'm going to sing for you right now. So the translation for the section I'll be singing is, the child sat by the fire, Cupid, Cupid, and was blind. With his little wings, he fans the flames and he smiles. Fans, smiles, the clever child. Oh, the child's wing is burning. Cupid, Cupid, run quickly.
Singers out there. These are very, very different types of pieces, right? But again, both for soprano. So if you're learning a piece and you're like, this doesn't feel right, you might not be singing the right piece for your Fach or where you are right now. So don't be stressed about that. I would never sing that. All right. So the next piece in the 4 last songs that I'm going to sing a little section of is from the piece Frühling, meaning springtime. The vocal line here is really expansive, again, really drawn out, really kind of pulled, with long phrases. It requires extremely sustained breath control, which is why younger singers usually aren't touching this. It's really difficult. And the lyric soprano must kind of navigate both like the brighter upper register in this, where Strauss places a lot of the vocal line to convey kind of the sense of hope and rebirth that is missing really from the rest of the cycle as we kind of continue on towards this idea of death. The orchestration, again, is lush, and the voice has to be able to cut through it. And this has translations in it, right, Melissa? Okay, then I won't bore you with that.
for the Brentano Lieder is Als mir dein Lied erklang. And it has a similar forward momentum and energy to Frühling. It's also the heaviest writing in the Brentano Lieder, but it's offset by the tessitura. So the soprano is consistently popping up to high A sharps and Bs in this piece so she can be heard over the dense orchestration. This vocal line includes moving passages rather than the sustained lines like Frühling, even though she does have melismas, mine are a little bit different, but it doesn't have to be weighed down. The translation for this piece is, when your song rang out to me, your song rang out. I heard it, how through the roses it moved to the moon, the butterfly that flew colorfully in the spring. You converted it into a pious bee. I have been drawn to the rose since your song rang out to me. The only time that I get to have that long lyrical singing in the whole song cycle. Also, this is the only one that has an introduction. All the rest of the Brentano Lieder start a cappella.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Melissa and I have been talking this week as we've been rehearsing this about what kind of music tires her out and what kind of vocal music tires me out. And for me, popping up and sitting up at the top is just exhausting. But sitting in that like middle top of the staff, mid passaggio, I can sit there all day long and not get tired. And Melissa is the opposite.
Yeah.
But popping up energizes her, and sitting in the middle and sitting at that passaggio is really tiring. And so again, if you're singing something and it feels wrong or feels stuck, it's probably not the right thing at this time, you know, and that continues on through your studies as singers. Can you tell we're voice teachers? So the next piece I want to talk about in the Four Last Songs is September. As you can see, Strauss and his librettists here are using seasons as a metaphor for seasons of life. So the mood in September is really introspective, reflecting the transition from summer to autumn. Strauss writes the vocal lines in a really contemplative, flowing manner, with the soprano's voice kind of softly weaving through the dense orchestral texture. I find this one to be the easiest to sing. I don't know why. Maybe it's slow. The lyric soprano is required to sing with great sensitivity in this, and particularly in that middle register, that kind of bread and butter lyric soprano spot, where the warmth and the richness of the voice can really express the melancholy of the text.
The next piece in the Brentano Lieder, Ich wollte ein Sträußlein binden, portrays a narrator who wishes to gather a bouquet for his beloved, only to realize that the flowers have withered in his hands. The vocal line is graceful yet expressive and conveys the yearning and disappointment of the narrator and a talking flower, while the piano conjures a vivid picture of nature's fleeting beauty. So compared to the melismas in September, Strauss sets a quick triplet rather than the long 16th note phrases. And the translation for the section I'll be singing is, I wanted to make a bouquet, then came the dark night. No flower could be found, otherwise I would have brought it to you.
All right, we're headed back to Beim Schlafengehen, which is the first little clip that you heard. This piece is really interesting. It's the third piece in the set of 4, and just right in the middle of it, there's like a 3-page violin solo. It's gorgeous. It's so gorgeous, and it introduces this beautiful line that then the voice mimics. So you'll get to hear the voice mimic that line. We didn't have a violin today to to do that, but the legato here again is crucial, really crucial to these long sustained phrases that require that emotional depth and the technical control and the ability to cut through the dense orchestra. So you're sensing a theme here with these. Again, this is one of the pieces that every single recording you will hear, the words will be slightly different, the breaths will be different, words will be repeated in order to make things easier for the soprano. That's always what it is. It's in order to make it easier to sing and more beautiful, because again, a lot of these lines, I would argue, are pretty unsingable the way that they were written. But I think Strauss, I kind of look at it as Strauss trusted the lyric soprano to make a choice and make the right choice for her, which I think is great.
Both this next song, Zoisle Liebe, Myrte, and Beim Schlafengehen, touch on the subject of sleep. However, Zoisle Liebe is a gentle lullaby to a myrtle tree, whereas Beim Schlafengehen is a metaphor for death. So this piece is full of rippling streams, cooing doves, and they're evoked in the swaying rhythms between the piano and the voice. Both of these songs contain the ascending melodic and melismatic passage with similar scales, but the tempos are vastly different. With Zoisle's scale, it leads more to a climactic cadence, whereas Beim Schlafengehen is more Wagnerian in nature, and he makes us wait as he spins out the continuous melodic line. And here I'm singing, whisper, dear myrtle, how quiet it is in the world. The moon, the star shepherd on a clear field of heaven, is already driving the cloud sheep towards the fountain of light.
So this is the final song of the letztes Lieder. The vocal lines are spacious, introspective. I would say probably this is the slowest of all the pieces. It's the final song. We're approaching death. It makes sense. The soprano's voice kind of soars over the orchestration here in more of the upper register. But again, the vocal lines are really slow and incremental in their changes. There's lots of accidentals. It's really, really interesting. There's kind of a warmth and a clarity. And I think that Strauss's writing here kind of calls for that a delicate balance of strength and fragility to match what's being talked about in the text. I'm just going to read you the text because I think it's really beautiful. So the poem is, we have gone hand in hand through joys and distress, and now we rest from our wanderings high above the quiet land. Around us the valleys slope down, the skies have begun to darken. Only two larks, recalling a dream, soar up into the haze. Come and leave them to fly. Soon it will be time to sleep. We must not lose our way in this solitude. O vast and silent peace, so deep in sunset glow, how weary we are with wandering. Could this perhaps be death?
pieces in all of music. So right after Bethany sings that's her final line in the entire cycle. There's a beautiful solo that's a quote from Death and Transfiguration. So it really comes full circle for Strauss's career, not only in the cycle. So we're going from the last song of the Vier letzte Lieder all the way to the first song of the Brentano Lieder is An die Nacht. So both An die Nacht and Im Abendrot contain the word sunset in the poetry, but they're treated obviously in totally opposing ways, where Abendrot, which means sunset, acts as a farewell. In An die Nacht, it's hymn-like with shifting keys underscoring the transition from day to night, and it's a love song. Clemens Brentano conjures the image of the bohemian god of light, Beelzebub, who penetrates earth with his spear while day embraces the chaste bride of night. So in the translation, the section I'll be singing is to the night, holy night, holy night, star-enclosed sky peace. Everything that the light divided is connected. All wounds bleed sweetly in the sunset.
I think we're right on time,
Yeah.
like to the minute. Oh,
Yes.
We have 1 whole minute left.
I'm sure everybody needs to get to their next class.
It's true.
But if you have time,
If you have time and questions.
Yeah, we will stay as long as we can and be happy to chat with you guys.
And thank you, John.
Yay! Thank you so much.
So if you have to leave. If anyone has questions, again, we're happy to answer them.